8, 2008. I don't know. It's not new.
It's a Honda Accord. It's nice. Good condition.
Yeah, it's in great condition. So it doesn't mean it has to be beat up. You can find decent cars.
Yeah. Talk about this, honey, because you talked about it during the list.
Yeah, it really stood out to me what Dave Ramsey says in his book. He says it wouldn't be fun to drive an older car, but I knew that if I would live like no one else, later I would live like no one else. Today I am convinced that my wife and I are able to do anything we want financially, partially, because of the car sacrifices we made in the early days. I believe with everything within me that we are winning because of the heart change that allowed us to drive old beat-up cars in order to win. That where he says he believes that it was the heart change, and I think that's what it's about. We don't question many times what's influencing us by culture. We're just, it is culture, it's the world, it's saying that you should have something that you can't afford. And if we're willing to look at our hearts and say, you know what, it's pride. I got to be willing to live within my means and not go into debt, then, I mean, he's saying that their success it's built on that. And I think that's what God rewards, our heart change.
Yeah. I love the quote here where it says, you have to reach the point that what people think is not your primary motivator. Reaching the goal you have is your motivator. Ask yourself, what are the goals that God has for you and your family? Not just for provision, but to impact the lives of others, to impact your community, your church. What are those dreams that God put in your heart that you want to accomplish? And that God has maybe already given you the means to it, but maybe you're spending it on yourself.
Yeah. We've been evaluating that because one of our goals is to be able to give more to other people, missionaries that we know around the world. And a lot of times we think, well, we'll wait till we have more money. But like Cesar said, we're looking at where do we have money now that we are spending it, but unwisely. We're spending it on ourselves in some way. And that's what, if you're making a car payment of $400 a month, and you could have a car paid for, but that was older and not as nice, you could be giving $400. You could be not even thinking of your next upgrade.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's convicting.
Yeah. And he says, do you remember the circus game where you swing the large hammer over your head to hit the lever to send the weight up to a pole to ring the bell? You reach the point that you want to ring the bell. Who cares if you're a 98-pound weakling with gawky form? The girls are still impressed when the bell is rung. When the goal, not how you look, begins to matter, you're on your way to a total money makeover. So don't worry about what other people may think. And remember this, people are not thinking about you.
Yeah.
They're thinking about themselves. Dale Carnegie says in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, look at a group picture. Who do you look for first?
Yourself.
You take a picture and you're like, oh, I look pretty good. I'm posting it. Boom! And other people might be like, they just turn around, the bald spot going on. But as long as you look good, right? So people are thinking about themselves. Don't worry about it. Just do what's right for you and your family and what God has called you for. If you're willing to sacrifice for a while, you can have your life's fortune and drive quality cars.
What about leasing, Cesar?
Boom, boom, boom. Read the next myth.
The next myth says leasing a car is what sophisticated people do. You should lease things that go down in value and take the tax advantage.
Well, what's the truth?
The truth. Consumer advocates, noted experts, and a good calculator will confirm that the car lease is the most expensive way to operate a vehicle. So
we moved back to the U.S. and we had just a little, what was it? The Oldsmobile, Cutlass Oldsmobile, 1985. It was running great. And then we needed a second car. I started working for the bank and I finally got a loan. And before I started reading Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And so we got a loan. It was a Hyundai Elantra.
Everybody gets a loan and everybody has a car payment.
And my friend Walter, who drove a Mustang, went with me to go buy the car.
Good influence.
Yeah. We bought a new car. It was like $11,000. I mean, I paid all this interest. to buy that car, which we're going to talk about on the next point. But anyway, I found out about it. And I'm like, oh no, I got to pay it. I figured out the interest I was paying, and we learned about these principles, and I paid it off. So we paid that off, and then your parents had another car we're going to get rid of. And I forget if they gave it to us or we partially bought it from them. It was a Buick LeSabre 1995. This was like around year 2002 or so, 2001, 2002. And we sold the Cutlass to a friend, and we ended up with a Buick LeSabre. We drove that Buick LeSabre all the way to Mexico to see my family, like 2,000 miles easily there and back. And we had those two little cars. And then I got a better job the year 2000. And 3 years into my job, all of a sudden I had some good commission months, and I was looking at new cars. And I forgot everything I had read in this book.
Yeah, and you started to do what sophisticated people do. Right?
Oh,
there's a little status in Spanish. Little status, and a little midlife crisis.
I'll help you
going
speak
on.
English, don't worry.
Thank you.
It wasn't midlife crisis.
Oh,
I
remember.
It was a Honda Accord 2-door.
2-door. Like we already had how many kids?
Whatever. We had 3 kids.
I remember saying.
We had 3 kids.
So you're just thinking about you, like this isn't like taking the family with you.
My rational.
So inconvenient.
It was for work. My rationalization was that hey, we have a Suburban for the other one. So this is what happened. I started listening on a radio program, and I actually had Pam call with me. Call the radio program and ask the guy who recommended that it's a good idea to get a lower payment, to get a lease, and then invest the difference in the stock market. And actually, we had a pastor back then who also reinforced the same thing. And now I look back and I'm like, dude, that was bad advice. But I was trusting him.
But we can, you can always find someone to give you the advice you're looking for. And you really wanted to upgrade, right? And so you were listening to the people who had the sophisticated answers.
So I ended up having 2 lease payments of about, I think it was like $600 for a Suburban 2003 and for the Honda Accord 2004. And then we got back into the principles of this. And at some point I realized, what am I doing? I did the math and I realized how much I was paying in interest. So I decided to pay off those 2 cars. And it turned out to be like $50,000 or $60,000 for those 2 cars. It was really a waste of money because I could have bought the same style of car a couple years older with low mileage still and not wasted so much money and interest. Let's go over
that. Kind of takes it into that next about what about cars at 0%?
Well, not yet. Let's talk about the lease first. So the average interest rate on a lease is 14%. Okay? People say you should rent things that go down in value. So a car is not an investment, right? It's not an asset. It's a liability because it's going down in value. But this is not necessarily true. I took a nap. She doesn't take naps. I take 15, 20-minute naps. And it's good as new. Okay. So check out this example. If you lease a car with a value of $22,000 for 3 years, when you turn it in at the end of the 3-year lease, the car is worth $10,000. Someone has to cover the loss of $12,000. It was you. It was me. Your lease payment is assigned to cover the loss, spread over 36 months, equal to $333 a month, plus provide profit on the interest that you pay for the car dealer.
Well, it makes sense to me because you think that a bank makes money if we take loans, So if they're making money, then there's money that we're losing somewhere. And it's the same with a car. So if it's a business for someone to lease cars, they have to make money. So we're losing money somewhere if they can make money. Yeah,
and you're also, remember, you get a charge 10 to 17 cents per mile if you go over the allotted miles. There's a mileage limit for that. And I remember negotiating that because I told them when I had those leases,
you were going to drive a lot.
I drive to Indiana every year. It's 1,000 miles there and 1,000 miles back. So here, I'm going to keep reading here. So for getting a brand new car, in a brand new smell, the brand new leather, you end up writing a large check just to walk away after renting. your car.